Okay. I guess the question is are we live yet? Are we live? Are we live? Can anybody see me? Are we live? Da, 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 da. All right. I think we're live. I think we've got it. I always struggle so much with live streams. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Hopefully we are in fact live. I'm going to go ahead and tweet this bad boy out so that everyone can join in on the hashtag fun. Bam. Tweet it and beat it. Okay. So we are live. How's everybody doing today? I know some of you guys are there. Hello, 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 everyone. How's it going? Make sure everybody let me know that everybody can hear me just fine. That's good. Okay, good, good, good. Cool, cool, cool. What's going on? The fan rift, Lord Kex. Lord Kex, I like that name. That's exciting. Good afternoon from Germany. Hello, good afternoon. It's good morning here right now. We're kind of nearing our afternoon. I'm on the East Coast, so I know some of you guys are on the Pacific Coast, Germany, Europe, all over the place. So we got different time periods. I wanted to wait until Pacific time period had a little time to wake up so they could join in on the fun. So I'm doing good. Fish Whisperer, I hope you're doing good as well. I'm glad the sound is great. Last time we went live, I had horrible, horrible connection issues. It looks like it's still having some minor issues here and there, but that's okay. You know, such is life. Such is life. So hopefully you guys are doing good today. We'll go ahead and give it a couple minutes here, probably about another 5 or so minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get into today's discussion. Good morning, everybody from Dayton, Ohio. Hey, how's it going? Good morning from UK. I hope everyone's staying safe. I know it's kind of a dangerous time nowadays. I hope everyone is staying safe, staying healthy, practicing their hashtag social distancing. Good morning from Albuquerque. Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. So good morning from Southampton, England. Wow, cool. We got people all over the place. This is great. Just awake from the night shift. Good morning. Okay, East Coast boys in the house. See, yeah, there it is. So, all right, we'll give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll get into today's topic. We're just going to be kind of covering, I guess, some of the bits of information that we have regarding Season 1 of Star Trek Picard. We're just going to kind of talk a little bit about that as we kind of roll into the two-parter season finale. There's a lot going on, a lot of stuff that happened from the 8th episode that was kind of revealed, and then we're going to have to go into, the 9 and 10 as the two-parter, as far as I know, season finale. Maybe a three-parter, depending on how they work it. Maybe it'll tie into the first episode of season 2. I don't know how they're doing it. So we're going to be doing that here shortly. That's going to be our kind of just a quick discussion. It shouldn't be too long, maybe about a half hour, 40 minutes or so. I just want to do that and then also talk to all of you guys. James Ham says, you smell. Captain Jack's here. Big smile. What's up, Captain Jack? So I'll be on Trek Central later on today, actually doing a live stream discussion specifically about episode 8 and kind of our theories moving into the finale as well. So make sure you guys check that out. We'll be sharing those links out as well with Captain Jack. So James Ham says, you smell. That's rude. You smell, James. German Trekkie says, hey, what's up? What's up, German Trekkie? What's going on? James Ham said all the shows are canceled. Yes, indeed. I don't know if you guys heard, Star Trek Discovery also has a movie in the works. They have season 4, season 5, which are filming back to back, and there's a movie in the works. All confirmed by insider sources. So just you guys can definitely believe that. So. Wow, there's 5 of us Germans already here. Yeah, we got a huge European audience here. Actually, a lot of you guys are from the UK, EU area. I guess I have to separate you two now because you guys divorced. So we'll say UK, EU. We'll go with that. So we got somebody says, I love Star Trek Picard. I'm a bit disappointed in a certain way, creative decisions, but all in all, Picard is amazing. Yes, I think Picard is amazing. I think a lot of you guys probably saw my episode 8 review. Didn't really like it that much. It was just okay. It was a little disappointing, but it is what it is. There's 10 episodes in the season, and for me to kind of feel lukewarm about one episode, I think is pretty damn good. I think it's pretty damn good because I think every season of every single show on the planet probably has one or two episodes people don't really like all that much, and it's a bit different for each person. So, is this movie news reputable? Awesome. No, the movie news is not reputable, so don't believe it. As far as I know, I can't tell you that there's not a movie in place, but there's no reputable sources that connect to the movie, being produced. You guys know the whole story. If I had reputable sources on that stuff, I would of course share it out with you guys. So that would be the whole thing. That's what we'd be doing here. That's what we do here on Ketwalski. All right, so give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll kind of get into the discussion today. Again, we're going to be talking a little bit about where we're at. So we're going to cover like the Zhat Vash. We're going to cover what happened to the Borg Cube. We're going to talk a bit about Narissa and Ramda and where we are going in episodes 9 and 10, kind of moving into the finales and really what they're going to try to do. I'm going to provide some theories as to what I think is going on. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that. Says Ketwalski and everybody else, good morning all. Hope you're having a Trek-tastic day. Yes, son of a red shirt, we are. You son of a red shirt. For far too many unnecessary deaths of cherished and beloved characters in Star Trek Picard. I don't think that's true, Mark Simpson. I don't think that's a fair thing to say that they're unnecessary because, as I've talked about before, a lot of people criticized the show before it came out by saying don't bring in legacy characters unless they're integral to the plot, and they made them integral to the plot of the show, but now people are saying, well, now you're just killing them off for no reason. And it's like, well, no, if you really look at the narrative, from a cohesive standpoint, these characters are being killed off for a very good reason. And as much as connection that we have to Icheb and Maddox and Hugh in this series, if you go back to Voyager and TNG, where those characters kind of came from, they were relatively minor characters. I know Icheb had a little bit more going on, perhaps, than the other two, but they were relatively minor characters. They're important to us as fans, but I think it was important to kind of have some impactful things. But the season's not over. We could still definitely lose quite a few of our new characters as well. My feeling right now is potentially Agnes might bite it because it's not going to be fun for her to go to jail in the second season, so she might actually die. That's just a theory of mine. So, all right. Hey, what's going on? MFicker, Jimmy Dean, how's it going? Says, Icheb and Maddox are not beloved. They were like 2-bit characters and they developed storylines. I would think that, I agree with that for Maddox. Maddox wasn't really a character. In fact, the whole point of Maddox in the show, in his episode, was that he was kind of a jerk. I think later on in his secondary like conversations that people had about Maddox, it was like more or less of a jerk. But Icheb, I think, had a different thing there. Very much like Hugh, I think. Like Hugh was like I don't think he was a 2-bit character. He had a very specific plot point, and they brought them back to add depth to this series and let people, have some serious deaths going on. So, but I think that we are going to lose some people still, and we still have 2 more episodes left. I think the likelihood of us losing some people is very, very high. Filthy News says, hey man, how are you doing? I'm doing great, man. How are you? All right. So, got enough time here. I think everyone that's going to be here is here. So we're going to go ahead and start talking. So here's the thing. So, again, big spoilers. Obviously, that was in the thumbnail. Obviously, it's in the title, but I want to remind everyone, big spoilers for Star Trek Picard Season 1. If you're not wanting to watch it, stop watching. If you don't want to get spoiled, stop watching this live stream. So, we find out in Episode 8 that the Zhat Vash, which, if I had to draw like a circle of entities, so we have like the Romulan Intelligence Service, then we have the Tal Shiar inside of that, and then inside of that appears to be the Zhat Vash. It's the smaller group inside of Romulan Secret Intelligence Services / Secret Police. The Zhat Vash go through this procedure called the admonition, which involves touching this device on this planet. I think it's called Aya. Maybe it's Aya. I think it's Aya. That's a single planet surrounded by 8 suns, which is, now we know that is what the conclave of 8 comes from. It's not organizations or people, whatever it is. It's 8 suns that got pulled together, and there's a planet in the middle, and I assume you need an enormous amount of sunblock to get onto this planet because it's probably super hot. I don't know. But they touch this device, and then it shows them a flood of images that they are interpreting as a warning to sentient life reaching a certain point and basically tipping the scales into, synthetic life reaching a certain point, tipping the scales into the synthetic life's favor, and then they will, of course, lead to the destruction of all organic life. Now, how all of those pieces fall into place is not clear. I don't even think it's necessarily clear to the Zhat Vash members. I think that they're just seeing this image, this warning, as we're being told, and they're acting based off of that. Now, I do think that it's possible that they are either being fed wrong information or they are interpreting that vision incorrectly. I think that that's a very strong possibility that the Zhat Vash have been wasting their time and that they've been going after synthetic life wrongly, that they misinterpreted what the actual warning was about. But that's a separate thing. So that happened. On that planet that we see inside of episode 8, Ramda, who apparently is also the aunt of Narissa and Narek, she goes through the admonition. It does not go well for her. She loses her mind. So her and a bunch of other Tal Shiar agents, I assume probably including some of the people that were on that planet, get put onto that Romulan shuttle, which is the name I forgot already. The Shaynor, I think it is. And that's going back someplace in space. A Borg cube appears, attacks that Romulan shuttle, assimilates everybody, including Ramda, and then once Ramda gets assimilated and put into the collective, her grief from the admonition is so powerful that the Borg collective severs connection to the cube, and then it leaves the cube isolated and shuts down all the drones. And that's where the Borg cube came from. So it's just kind of hanging out there, and then the Romulans, I assume, found it and developed the artifact and the whole organization with Hugh and kind of this whole reclamation project and all that stuff like that. So that's where the Borg cube came from. That's what's going on with the admonition. Now, how does all of that connect back to Soji? Because I keep calling Soji the Destroyer. We're not quite clear yet on what makes her the Destroyer, but at the end of episode 8, we are skipping past going to Deep Space 12 to meet up with the Federation, I think Squadron is what Admiral Clancy called it, and they are going to go to Soji's homeworld to try and warn the other, I guess, synthetic life forms on the planet that the Romulan fleet's inbound and they have to evacuate, or maybe they'll have defenses, or maybe they've got something else going on, or maybe there'll be nobody even there. We have no idea yet. So that's kind of where we're at overall. And then, of course, we have the situation with Seven and Elnor on the cube. They get the cube back at the end, but it's not quite resolved as to what's going on that. Like, what happened to all the drones that got blown out into space? Are they just going to leave them there because they shouldn't be dead because they don't need oxygen to survive? We saw that inside of First Contact, so they should still be fine, but we don't know what's going on with the cube. So that's there. Narek is following the La Serena through the Borg transwarp conduit on the way to the Soji homeworld, and that's kind of where we're at. So that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack there. I am personally of the belief that essentially that the Zhat Vash are interpreting this message incorrectly. I don't think that they actually understand what this device is trying to tell them. I think that they are either the device is tricking them and only showing them something that they want to see, or that the message itself is just a generic warning, kind of like what they allude to at the end of this episode with Picard and Rios talking, where Rios is like, well, are these guys super dangerous? And Picard's like, well, they can be if we go about this in the wrong way, but if we do this right, they won't be. So I'm wondering if maybe that's the warning just being that if you abuse synthetic life, there's a likelihood that they'll rise up and destroy organic life, and that is the warning, not so much that just because it exists that all organics are going to suffer for that. That's my theory about that. I am curious to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think that they're interpreting that wrong, or what? I'm kind of curious to hear what you guys think. Jason Lewis says that the Admiral, I assume you mean Clancy, swears a lot, but it's funny to me. Yeah, I think Admiral Clancy swearing is I don't have any issues with the swearing. I think it's fine. I don't know if it's funny, but yeah, that is what it is, I like Clancy, let her swear. She's in a pseudo-Navy organization after all. That's very true. The Navy does curse. All services curse. I'm in the service, and believe me, I curse all the time. My biggest issue with Picard thus far is, where is Janeway? I can't believe how she could not be involved somehow. Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people are saying now too. So again, it's like the shifting of criticisms. It went from don't bring all these legacy characters back to why are you killing off all these legacy characters? And then also, well, where's this other person? What's going on with them? So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. So Does anyone know if Geordie LaForge will show up? I think he will. He was definitely featured in the Countdown comic and also in other beta canon source material as well, as was Captain Worf of the USS Enterprise. So there's definitely something there. Nathaniel Robinson says, I made the same interpretation, except that the admonition is being used to mislead the Zot-Vash members. Yeah, I think it could be, I don't know if it's intentionally malicious. Yeah, there we go. I don't think it's intentionally trying to trick them. I think that the user, when they touch it, perhaps their own biases are translated through the imagery of what this device is, because I'm assuming that nobody other than Romulan Tal Shiar members have touched this device, and they are the most secretive, paranoid group in the galaxy, and maybe they don't have quite the good testing group. I'm wondering if we'll get a situation where maybe if Picard touches it, he'll see something different. That would be kind of cool, I think. Or maybe some other people touch it. Or maybe they have Soji touch it at some point, and she sees something entirely different. That would be kind of cool, I think. Fishinator NL says, swearing is normal, old style, old Star Trek is childish, still love it. Yeah, swearing is normal. I did not like the swearing at Picard in episode 8, and that was only because of the context of which it happened in the scene, because I think I talked about this in my review, I preferred that scene to go differently. I wanted that to be Picard sticking it to Clancy and not Clancy still dunking on him, because that was kind of his moment to shine, but that wasn't to do with the cursing, that was just due to the context of the sequence. So that's kind of a little bit of a in-depth thought there. To be more precise, O is misusing the admonition. Nathaniel Robinson says that O is using it is misusing the admonition. That would be an interesting twist, that O is actually tricking the Zot-Vash or the Romulans and kind of manipulating them in some regards. That would be a very, very interesting twist, that she's not all that we understand or that we see. That would be kind of cool. That would add a little bit more depth to what's going on with the Tal Shiar and with Commodore O. Do you see the Borg joining the Picard to save the day, and in doing so, adding a new dimension to the Borg-Picard relationship? I do. I think it'd be really cool to see a friendly Borg cube helping to kick some Romulan ass. That would be really cool. I think that that's very likely, because now the XBs 7 and Elnor are left on this cube. There are no more Romulans, and as far as we know, all the rest of the drones were blown out into space, so it's all friendlies essentially on board the cube. So the likelihood of them mustering the power of the cube to go and help Picard is very, very high, and that would be cool to see. I'd love to see that. My theory is that O is part of Section 31. I hope not. I'm over Section 31. I'm over that. I don't want any more Section 31, at least for right now. We've had enough of that from Star Trek Discovery. Nothing against Section 31, but I also know that they're still, even though it's been delayed from what I understand, they're still making the Section 31 show. Let Section 31 be over there. Let it be its own thing. We don't need any more of that infecting everything else. So we got Tal Shiar. That's enough with the secret organizations. That's good enough. Did anyone notice how the Fleet Admiral refers to Picard as, with all due respect, Admiral? Yes, she does, but that's very common in military lifestyle. Even after you retire, people still refer to you by the rank, especially in kind of certain situations. Not every day, because I work with a lot of retirees, so I'm not walking around calling Mr. Such and Such, Major Such and Such, but it is very common. It's not an uncommon thing to happen. Maybe O is a Vulcan spy. No, I don't think that's the case. I think she's definitely evil. I think if she was a Vulcan spy, she would have probably reached out to Picard at this point to kind of coordinate her efforts. So I don't think that's what's going on there. Another question I want to pose to all of you guys in the chat while we're talking about O and the Zot-Vash is, what do you think they're going to find on Soji's home world? We saw from the preview of Episode 9 that there's these giant flower-like ships there. Based off of that, and the fact that the La Serena loses power, and it looks like it's completely blacked out in there. I'm assuming that the flower is going to envelop it some way, and that's how they're going to lose power, but I don't know what the heck that's going to happen after that. But what do you think they're going to find on the planet? We do know that, obviously, they're going to get there at some point and land on the surface, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think they're actually going to find there. More Soji androids? Do you think they're going to find... another character, because we still have the father character from that embedded memory that Soji witnessed with where his face was blurred out. So I think that there's another character down there. A lot of people said that looked like Bashir. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know if that's going to be the situation, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think they're going to find. I'm seeing here some loads of synths. W. Leninger says they're going to find Spot. Yes, Spot is actually the mastermind behind all of the things that are happening happening on the synthetic planet, for sure. That's exactly what it is. And organic Data. That would be weird. A lot of people are saying Data. Maybe Data, maybe Data. It's Data's brain intact. And organic Data. I don't know what that means. That's interesting. Maybe they that's definitely possible. Like, because at the beginning, I think it was actually the first episode that Agnes tells Picard that Maddox believed that with a single neuron, they could recreate Data's entire memory from that single neuron. So if they did get that from B4, which is what they're implying with Soji and Daj and potentially these other synthetic life forms, perhaps one of the things that Maddox did do initially was to remake Data. Maybe Data's hanging out on the planet. That would be a huge surprise. Very emotional sequence that would happen there for sure if they arrived there and boom, Data's hanging out. It says, at Kitwalski, I hope we get the Section 31 show. I hope Georgiou will go back to the 26th or 27th century and remake Section 31 in that time. Yeah, maybe. I don't know what's going on with the Section 31 show, but I think we're still going to get it. So, says the builder of the admonition is using the Romulans to kill the synths because they are dangerous to them. That would be an interesting twist. That maybe that it's something they're the builders of the admonition itself, the device itself, are manipulating the Telshaw to do their bidding. That would be quite interesting. Data equals a Cylon? No, I don't think so. How about Lore? I would hope that we see Lore. I don't want necessarily Lore to be walking around and talking, but I hope that there is at least a reference to what happened to Lore's body, because obviously they get him at the end of that two-parter with Hugh. That's in that two-parter as well. They deactivate him and they still have his body. So hopefully there's kind of a reference there of what the heck is going on with Lore. That would be really cool. Maybe even Data's first daughter. Maybe they remade Lal. That would be quite interesting. Okay, that would be kind of interesting. Definitely. That'd be kind of fun. I think Data is in the orchids in her dream with Soong. With Soon? I don't know what you mean by that, by Gary Korn. But maybe it's Data that's the father figure that has the face bleeped out. That was one of my original theories, is that it was just kind of it wasn't a literal dad or a figure that actually exists physically, but it was kind of a subtle part of the programming to help reveal to the Asha twins who their legacy father is. In this case, it would be Data. Definitely. Yep, definitely. Dr. Soong may be alive. Yeah, Soong is dead. I think Dr. Soong, who made the Soong-style androids, I think he's dead. It'd be weird to bring him back because he was already, like, bones old inside of the TNG episode, so I don't know if he would be around. Maybe his mind or something was downloaded to a computer. That would be kind of far-fetched. That's kind of like Captain America Civil War-ish, where they downloaded that scientist's mind into a computer and he was still doing stuff. Maybe that's what Soong did. That would be kind of surprising, though. That would be a bit of a twist. That would be interesting. I wanted Data to be zipping around the clouds as a non-corporeal digital consciousness. Maybe. That would be interesting. Were all of Soong's augments killed off? I believe so. Maybe somebody can validate that. I think at least in the Enterprise series, they were killed off there. They weren't making any more of them. So, Juliana Soong. Her name was Juliana, wasn't it? Yes, Juliana was the pseudonym of Soong's wife / the mothers of Data and Lore, and essentially B4. Maddox had B4, but not Lore. We don't know that, Carlos. We don't know that for sure. They haven't referenced Lore yet. I would assume that they would not try to make any kinds of androids off of Lore, but we still don't know what happened with the A500s. We do know that obviously they were hacked. We do know from this episode that the Zat-Vash and those who went through the admonition were targeting Mars, so they were most likely behind the synth uprising that took place. But how they went about doing that and explaining all that and how that went down, we still don't know that quite yet. So hopefully we'll get an answer to that, and that's more described in episodes 9 and 10. So I do want to ask another question here to everybody here in the chat. We're already reaching near 30 minutes here, so we're doing great. I do want to ask everybody in the chat here, do you think that because they didn't go to Deep Space 12, that way they were supposed to meet up with Admiral Clancy's squadron that he sent there, and now they're going to this planet. The Romulans are on the way to that planet. Likely the Borg cube is going to be involved in that somehow. Do you think that that Federation squadron is going to find itself to that planet as well to link up with Picard and maybe have like a giant space battle with the Romulan fleet? And if so, do you guys think that we're going to see any new ships? We haven't seen, the Verity yet. It's been referenced quite a bit. It was obviously shown off in the comic, and it's also in the book. Do you think we're going to be getting the USS Verity, or do you think that we're just going to see an Odyssey-style Enterprise F that we saw from Star Trek Online, or do you think the Enterprise E is going to make an appearance? It's a cool opportunity to bring in Captain Worf and to show off some cool new Federation starships, because we actually haven't seen Federation starships like that in this show. I want more ships, but I'm curious, do you guys think that that's going to happen? We're going to get a massive space battle above the Soji's home world, so I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that. It says, at Ketwalski, the squadron to DS-12, how many ships are maybe the Enterprise? Yeah, they didn't say how many ships are in a squadron. A squadron is a weird term to use anyways, because usually squadron relates directly to like fighters. They didn't mention like task force or fleet or armada or anything like that, which they've used in the past. So squadron makes it feel like there's fighters involved. So I'm curious to see what they do with that, though, what they mean by squadron. I don't know if they just threw that word in there without really caring too much about what squadron usually stands for. Fishinator NL says, I miss the Federation starships. Me too, Fishinator. I want more Federation starships. The fact that we haven't had that many thus far is hugely disappointing, and I want to see more. And hopefully they're saving that. Hopefully they save the budget for these 2-part episodes, and we'll get to see a cool space battle with a lot of Federation starships and hopefully some new starship designs. I know that Star Trek Online has obviously done a lot with new forward-leaning 2400 series, yearly-wise, 2409 and forward of new Federation starship designs. So hopefully they pull some of those in, and maybe we get some even new ones. I know John Eves has been involved with the production of Star Trek Picard, and hopefully he's got some cool designs that maybe nobody has seen before. That would be kind of cool. I'd like to see that. That'd be kind of fun. The USS Ibn Majid. Yeah, they had the Ibn Majid. The Ibn Majid, am I saying that right? I don't know how to say that right. Sorry. They showed off what that was. It even had its NCC registry number inside of that little case that Rios had on board his ship. And it actually showed off the design of the ship. And I spent some time trying to figure out what that ship design looked like. It looked like all sorts of different ones, but it actually interestingly looked like some of the designs that we saw from What We Left Behind. There was a couple of designs in that documentary that looked very similar to that. And Michael Chabon did one of his live Q&As on Instagram, and actually the individual that runs the Star Trek Pike Facebook group actually directly asked him what style of starship that was, and he alluded it to being, I think, a Curiosity class starship, which was kind of interesting. So yeah, James Ham says Curiosity class, which is kind of cool. I definitely like that. It's kind of cool. Cyborg XG1 says Romulan plus Federation fleets versus Picard, Synths, and the Borg. So I think what you're saying there, the implication is that the Federation fleet is going to show up and actually work with the Romulans to destroy the synthetic life. That would be a wild, wild shift of expectations, that they arrive and that they're in cahoots with the Romulan fleet, and that the Federation wants, really, no kidding, to destroy all synthetic life, and that includes the beings on this planet. That would be a crazy, that would be crazy. I would not suspect that at all. That would make me so mad. I hope they don't do that. That would make me really mad at the Federation. But it does keep in line with the Federation that we've seen so far in this series, which is a group of people that are very nervous and very hesitant to engage and be a part of the synthetic life form production. So if they arrive and there's a planet full of synths, for all we know, there could be thousands of them for all we know. And if they get there and they're like, actually, we're here to destroy them as well, then it's going to be Picard and the Synths and possibly Seven and the Borg Cube versus the Federation and the Romulans. That would be wild. That would be very, very wild. I don't know if we're going to go that route. That would be interesting, though. That would be very, very interesting. Snowman Frost says, squadron simply means group of up to several dozen aircraft/vessels. Yeah, it does. It's just a weird term to use, I think. A squadron or naval squadron is a significant group of warships, which is nonetheless considered too small to be designated as a fleet. A squadron is typically a part of a fleet. Yep, okay, so maybe they do mean a lot of ships, so maybe that's what's going on there. Although I have a sinking feeling that we get a cliffhanger, big party, everyone won, then Seven turns around and her eyes turn black, the queen is back in the game. That would be kind of crazy that Seven actually becomes kind of a pseudo-antagonist for the second season. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think that, and maybe this is kind of, I guess, my next question. This would be my final question to everybody in the chat here, which is, how do you guys and gals think that this season is going to end? Because there's a lot left, a lot of story left, and a lot of character arcs that need to be resolved in only 2 hour-long episodes. So we only have 2 hours to wrap up all this stuff. Do you guys think that we're actually going to get a resolution on what's going on? And if so, what kind of resolution? Do you think there's going to be a bit of a lulling, like, kind of celebratory party at the end and everything kind of gets neatly tied up and then boom, something happens that kind of is like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It's like Q appears or something like that, and then it fades to black to set up the second season? Or do you think that we're going to leave off on a much more serious cliffhanger, and maybe even the first episode of Picard Season 2 is potentially a third part of this two-parter, cycle here? I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that. I would think, personally, my feeling is I think we're going to get a resolution on this Romulan fleet. I don't think the Federations are going to assist the Romulans. I think we're going to have a big battle. I think we're going to get a resolution with the Romulan fleet. I think that Agnes is likely going to be the one that dies, just because she would then go to jail, which would be kind of a lame end for her character. So I think she's going to do some kind of self-sacrifice maneuver. I think that the synthetic life forms are going to live, and I actually think that the XBs, because Hugh alluded to this a little bit earlier on in the season, that the XBs would like to have a planet of their own. I think the XBs, being former assimilated Borg, are going to live and move in and actually help populate the planet that the other synthetic life forms, because they were kind of, there's going to be some kind of shared identity between the synthetic lives that, that Maddox and others potentially made on this planet, and the XBs are going to go there, and then that's where they're going to live, and that's going to be their home world there, and then the Federation are going to protect them. So I think that piece is going to be somewhat resolved, but I do think there's going to be some other questions. I don't think Soji is going to remain behind on the planet. I think she's going to stay aboard La Sirena, and she's going to continue to go on adventures with Rios and Raffi and all the holograms, potentially even Picard. So I think we're going to get something like that, and then there's going to be like a stinger bit that happens at the end of the 10th episode that kind of really pulls us in and kicks off Season 2. My current theory still, though, is that it's going to be Q, but that's just my current theory about that. But I'm curious, I'm reading some of your guys' comments right now. Thomas says, I get the vibe that they are going to wrap up the season quickly, and next season will be another contained story, just based on how Star Trek Discovery was written. I prefer it gets carried into Season 2. I would prefer it as well. I prefer, I hope they do some wrap up, but then they carry a couple of things into the next season. Geekocidal Tendencies says XBs were blown out of the airlock. No, the XBs were not blown out of the airlock. We actually see them towards the end of episode 8, I believe. No, the XBs are not all dead. We saw them at the end of episode 8. I think it was where Narissa that was being attacked by them, and then she got beamed out, and then the rest of the XBs were still on there. So I think the XBs were on the inside of where all of the shields went up, and then all of the drones were blown out into space, and I think Narissa was running around trying to kill as many XBs as she could, but then the XBs, a lot of them were still alive. I'm assuming a lot of them are still alive. Maybe she did get the majority of them, but we did see several more of them on there. So yeah, there's definitely some XBs left. So maybe they're going to live on that planet. That's my current theory. Seven will collect all the Borgs. Maybe. I hope so. I mean, they're still people, and they're still doing this whole thing with reclamation, so maybe they're going to collect all the Borgs that were left in space and go to this planet that Soji is from, and maybe they're going to continue the reclamation procedures to help save all of them and bring them back from being just simple drones. That would be kind of cool. There are like 8 XBs left. Maybe there are only a few left. I don't know how many XBs are left, but That would be kind of interesting to see how many there are. I don't think it's actually clear yet in the series what happened to the scientists or the remaining XBs that were on the Borg cube. So perhaps we're actually going to see the scientists assisting the XBs in 7 and Elnor in episodes 9 and 10 to kind of get the cube up to fighting status, and then it'll go in and save the day or something like that. That'd be kind of interesting. So I lied. I have one more question for everybody here before we wind down the live stream, which is, who do you guys? I made this kind of comment in my review video for episode 8, and there seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy here. There was an illusion that synthetic life will fight and destroy organics by themselves, which is kind of what happened with the A500s on Mars. And there was also an allusion to something that Rio said during their conversation, where he was like, yeah, it's like the Cochrane warp factor thing, where once you pass that warp barrier and the initial warp drive thing was initiated, somebody shows up. In that case, it was the Vulcans. So the implication being that once synthetic life gets to a certain point, someone's going to show up and something is going to happen based off of that. And my question is do you guys think that's what the destroyer piece means? Is that Soji has evolved so much that something is going to trigger elsewhere in the universe, and then somebody's going to show up, and that's going to be what destroys organic life or threatens organic life in some ways? And if so, who do you guys think that might be? From what we gather, the individuals that made this warning was around 200,000 years ago, so that puts into question a few different races, the top two being Iconians and the Takan Empire. Iconians would be really cool. We've got a lot of Iconian stuff from the Star Trek Online video game, but that we haven't really seen too much of those in alpha canon, so to speak. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think it's going to be some being showing up, or an entity or a group of entities showing up and doing something, or is it Soji that's going to lead this revolt of synthetic life and they're going to be the destroyers? And if you do think it's going to be somebody that's going to show up, who do you think it is? I'm curious to hear who you guys think it will be. Trexphere says the Reapers. Well, that would be quite the crossover event. I don't know if EA and BioWare have signed off on the Reapers showing up. That would be kind of interesting. I want to know why Jana looks like Daj and Soji. I think it's because they probably developed a certain limit to the different styles of synthetic life forms, and maybe they just started pumping them out, like they just did a copy and paste, and they started making those things like that. Thomas says they weren't ever specific on that point. The Romulans just think it's androids in general rise up. Rios was more talking about others seeking us out. Yeah, so I'm curious to hear what you think, Thomas. Do you think it's going to be another group, or is it the synthetic life forms, that are going to be destroying things? Somebody says Control. Possibly. Could be Control. That would be an interesting twist, and tying it into Star Trek Discovery. Maybe Control eventually came back, and there was really no way to stop Control from ever existing. The Takan Empire would be cool as hell. Yeah, definitely. It would tie into some really cool stuff about TNG and also DS9, excuse me. And also, I think bringing the Iconians in would be really cool, because there's some connection with the history there. So that would be kind of interesting. Iconians, Takan are a new ancient species or race. I would be open to the idea of doing a new race entirely. That it's something that we've never seen before. It doesn't necessarily have to connect, but that doesn't quite connect to everything that they're doing in Star Trek Picard. A lot of care, in my opinion, has gone into this season to connect everything together in the series and to connect things that have happened before. There's still obviously, plus or minuses to that kind of thinking and that kind of writing, but they've done a lot to try to make everything as super connected as possible and paying attention to a lot of those details. So I think that if it is an entity that's going to show up, or a group of people that are going to show up, it'll be somebody that we've known about inside of Star Trek lore up to this point. So I think my vote right now is likely the Iconians, just from my personal feelings there. Tommy Ross says maybe the alien race that helped create V'ger will be the destroyers. Ooh, now that is an interesting thing. That would be a fantastic connection to the motion picture, that maybe whatever race found the Voyager probe and made it into this whole, giant thing is what's going to show up. That would be really, really interesting. I like that idea. That would be kind of fun. Yeah, definitely. Maybe the Borg? I don't think so. I don't think it'll be the Borg. I don't think so. That's kind of a we got the Borg are doing a specific thing in this season. Bringing them in and having them being the antagonists again was kind of lame. I think the Borg don't need to build up the Borg don't care about what level of synthetic life they're at. They're just there to consume things in general. So I don't think that they have this concept of a threshold. I think they're just consuming races. So I don't think it's the Borg. The Create V'ger is nice. Yep, I think that would be kind of cool. Jacob Demasisi says, you should have 100,000 subscribers, man. Man, Meat, I agree. Where are my subscribers at? I'm just kidding. We have a fantastic community here. I do want to go ahead and say that I'm recognizing a lot of names here in the chat here, and I want to say that I know a lot of you disagreed with my kind of criticisms of episode 8, but I appreciate the fact that the overwhelming majority of all of you, I'd say over 99% of you guys and gals that commented on my episode 8 review, kept it positive, and two, you respected the fact that I had my feelings on it and that you had your own, and I really appreciate that. Too often do we get a situation where if a YouTuber makes a video or somebody writes an article or whatever it is, and the viewers or the audience doesn't agree with that, they just kind of try to destroy that video and they flame it up and they go crazy over it. And I appreciate the fact that all of you guys and gals stopped and really said, hey, I agree with a lot of the things. I don't agree with what you're saying here, but here's why I liked it. Here's why it was my favorite. And I understand that that's your opinions and these are mine. And I appreciate the fact that we kept it relatively, I would say overall, relatively appropriate and constructive and very positive. So I appreciate the fact that you guys and gals do that. That's not me. Like, I'm just here making videos. That's the community that we have built here together as a group to create some, I guess, an atmosphere of being able to be critical, but being positive about that criticality and also sharing some connections between each other in that regard. So I appreciate the fact that we've had that here. So thank you guys and gals very much for doing that. That was awesome. So I definitely appreciate that. David Aerosmith says, will Disco Season 3 learn from the love STP is getting? I hope so. I hope so. I hope that's the case. Discovery Season 3 has the opportunity to reinvent itself in a lot of ways because it's essentially a soft reboot, putting the show so far into the future, 900 and something years away from where it was currently at. So they have the opportunity to do something exciting there and to kind of reinvent itself in a lot of ways, and not necessarily that they need to, but they have an opportunity to address some of the concerns and criticisms that they're getting from the first two seasons and make some adjustments. And they made a lot of adjustments from seasons 1 to 2, and I think they're going to make more adjustments going into season 3. So I'm very, very excited to see what they do there. So I'm very, very excited about that. So Jason Lewis says, thank you for the live, sir. You're very welcome, Jason. We're going to be winding it down here. We're hitting about 45-minute marker here. We're getting ready to wind it down. Any final questions or comments or ideas that you guys and gals want to throw up in the chat box that you'd like me to read off or to respond to? Now's your chance to get those in there. And I'll go ahead and respond back to those, and then we'll kind of wrap up this live stream. At Kepwalski, got to say, I love Disco Very. It was a nice idea. Yes, I agree, it was. Disco Very, I like how you say that. I don't know if that's part of your translation matrix or what, but yeah, Discovery. When does Discovery hit our screens? So based off of internal with my team that I have, kind of external around the world, but internal to the team that I have, the current estimation that we have it at is based off of June of this year. And that's based off of a couple of factors. One, that Kurtzman has said that they want to try to continue to have a Star Trek element on CBS All Access as frequently as possible, but allowing for some break in between the two different seasons of the different shows. So obviously Picard is ending just in the next 2 weeks. So we have this week and then the week after. So kind of March will be the end of Picard, and then we have April, May, and then potentially June based off of that. The other thing that we're basing that off of is a couple of magazines that will be released coming up into the near future that will be released in April and May that are detailing some information about Discovery, with the implication being that the show hasn't quite aired yet. So we're basing an estimation off of around June timeframe. It may be May, but definitely not April. I would be very, very surprised, and all of my estimations would be way off if it was April. So maybe May, but my feeling right now is probably June, just to give everyone an opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a breather in between the two different seasons, and then also to build up the PR and excitement revolving around revolving around Star Trek Discovery Season 3. But it may change. CBS has their Viacom CBS has their shareholder kind of fest meeting that they normally do. They do it every year. Last year, when they did this, we got our very first footage from Star Trek Picard, and which was the whole joke of Picard checking it at the visitors' desks. They have canceled that event, or at least suspended it for right now in regards to the coronavirus. So they may shift some things around and maybe move Star Trek Discovery up sooner in order to kind of keep the attention going and trying to keep it going from that perspective, because likely they were going to announce the other 2 live action shows at that event, but because it's been suspended and pushed back, they may try to put Discovery further up into that time slot in order to kind of keep the buzz of Star Trek kind of moving forward there. So that may be what's going on. Says, just give me a continuous nonstop daily Trek, no hiatus necessary. Well, I would agree with that. That would be kind of interesting. Sonequa is pregnant, so will Michael be? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to put that into the series. So Sonequa Martin Green did just announce recently that she was pregnant, so congratulations to her. Obviously, we do know that from what I gather from my documentation and things that I rely on, that Star Trek Discovery has entered into a pre-development phase for season 4. So will they tie in her pregnancy into that? I doubt it, especially kind of just talking about with the coronavirus stuff. I think a lot of the productions are going to be halted. I wouldn't be surprised if Picard season 2 also gets halted a little bit. So I think that because Discovery season 4's production will probably get pushed back a little bit, she potentially could be pregnant and have a nice healthy delivery before they even start the cameras rolling on season 4. So we may not have to tie that into the series, but it'd be interesting if they do. That would be definitely interesting if they do. At Ketwalski, 7 is the queen because she said Annika has work to do. Yeah, I don't know if that was the queen or if that was like an AI on Borg, the cube. I talked a little bit about that in my review video. It's quite unclear if it's not collective-ish, but I do think that there was some kind of entity, an AI that connects the cube itself together, some kind of internal artificial intelligence. When they were connected to 7, that it was kind of a secondary consciousness that was happening in there. I don't think she's full-blown queen yet, though. That would be... maybe, I don't know, maybe, definitely for her, it's possible. So what I was saying earlier was I think Data and Soong are in the orchids, his DNA and data neurons in the episode STG Brothers in his lab. Soong had the orchids in his lab. Yes, it's very possible. It is possible that Data is going to exist, or maybe even Soong will exist in some form or fashion on this planet. Maybe not necessarily in a physical body, but maybe as some kind of artificial intelligence. That'd be kind of interesting, and a way to kind of get those characters back in the action without necessarily having to explain why they're physically there. Max Matthews asks, what's up with the orchids? Man, I have no idea, but they looked really cool. I'm definitely excited to see what's going on with that. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Burnham gets pregnant by the Kelpian captain. No, I don't think that's going to be. No, I don't think so. Why does nobody speak of the sphere from Discovery? I don't know. I think that there's a lot of mystery surrounding that. I hope that we get more either alpha or beta canon surrounding that sphere. It is quite interesting, but I think we're going to get more of that in probably Discovery Season 3, because if you guys remember, the data and essentially the intelligence of the sphere is inside the Discovery. That was the kind of the whole point of getting it away from the control AI by sending it into the future. So that AI is on the USS Discovery. So I think that's probably going to play up quite a bit. I'm still thinking that there's going to be some connection between that sphere AI interfacing with the Discovery computer and becoming the Zora character from the Calypso short trek. The Calypso short trek is still probably the most interesting, confusing aspect of Discovery right now in that whole time period, because we don't know what's going on with that. So hopefully we get a good explanation to there. But I think that there's going to be a connection between that AI from the sphere, the Discovery itself, and Zora. I think there's going to be some kind of connections there. Maybe a control baby? No, I don't think that's going to be happening. Gates McFadden had shoulder surgery after filming. I don't know if she's going to be on the show. I don't know if Gates McFadden will be in this season. But because we do know that there is a season 2, there's plenty of opportunity to bring in Worf LaForge and Gates McFadden, and potentially even Will Wheaton, because all of those are kind of tertiarily involved with different things of Star Trek. I think there's still a chance that we're going to see another TNG alumni member inside of Picard Season 1, especially if there's a big, Starfleet battle at the end. I definitely think that Worf may show up. Perhaps even Riker may show up at some point, because he had that little line at the end of episode 7 where he's like, I'm still on active reserve, so I can still get pulled into service at some point for a very, very good reason. So there's definitely a possibility of that. So there's some strong possibilities there. So, but all right, guys and gals, that's going to go ahead and wrap up our stream. We're kind of getting close to an hour here. We have close to 200 viewers on this as things goes on. I really absolutely appreciate all of you for showing up and participating in today's live stream. I really, really appreciate it very much. I'm going to try to do a couple more of these now that I kind of start to figure out how the live stream system works. So hopefully we'll be able to do a couple more of these kind of going on into the future. Don't forget, today I will be on Trek Central in a couple of hours discussing episodes 8 and then obviously our theories for the finale as well there. And I'm going to be pulling some of your ideas that you guys sent me here as well into that discussion. So make sure you check me out there. If you haven't already, please, do the like and subscribe stuff on the channel. And I do want to go ahead and say thank you again to everybody for being here. And thank you guys for keeping it so positive in this discussion and on the channel in general. That's the community that we've built here. And I really do appreciate it. I really cannot express enough my gratitude for the fact that that's the kind of community that we've built over here on the Ketwalski YouTube channel. And that's not me. That's all of you guys together. We're doing that together. So thank you guys again for doing that. And thank you again for showing up. And I'll catch all of y'all next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies.